When a small cap company becomes the only one on the planet to break and publicly disclose a major battery barrier, you should probably pay close attention because that's exactly what HPQ Silicon did today when they announced 500 cycles major milestone. Their silicon-based anode batteries demonstrate high capacity and high durability. We know that's a lot to break down for those of you who are new to the story. We're going to get to that layman's explanation with Bernard. Welcome back, my friend.
Thank you.
And happy Halloween. So trick or treat came early for your shareholders. They came to your door knocking trick or treat. Is it fair to say that this is a great treat?
It's a great treat. Actually, I was planning on giving them like 400 cycle because I had that data. And I think just yesterday or the day before, we got the result of 500. So we were all very excited. And we said, oh, well, we're going to give everybody a real treat and give it the 500 cycle. No, let's not waste
500
around.
is definitely better than 400, and it was great to see it. So in layman's terms, because guys, I know there are a lot of longtime shareholders here, but there are always new ones. There are always new people watching and gonna be watching. In layman's terms, how significant is this? Because we're saying that you're the only company in the world who's breaking these barriers and disclosing it. I mean, a lot of people are making claims. No one's actually disclosing actual results. In layman's terms, how big is this?
Massive. Massive. I was just before we did this interview, I was in discussion with other players in the industry. There are more in the graphitic side of the materials and some coding for graphitic materials, and they were saying your results are out there. Really, really unique, really there, and you're basically are disclosing a lot of information, which makes it very easy for people in the industry to understand where you are, where you're progressing, where you're moving forward. So these results are massive. We felt very comfortable that with our Gen 3 material, we would be reaching that target. But there's a difference between saying we feel comfortable and we've done it. You know, that's really the two things. You know, you can say I feel very confident and then something that doesn't pan out, you know, but we've done it. It's been there, it's validated, it's published, and we show both the capacity degradation. I think the word we use is basically the performance, basically the relative and the absolute variation. A lot of people only talk about the relative. They don't talk about the absolute because the absolute is not very good. It's just not there. It's not very competitive. So that's there. And I like to remind people, okay, this is done with 18650 batteries. It's not done with half cells. Half cells are rinky-dink toy where you do the preliminary testing on your stuff. Half test results are basically the equivalent of a gold exploration to say, oh, I found 20 gold nugget. Does that mean you have a gold deposit? No. Doesn't even mean you've drilled, you'll drill and you find something, okay? But because the little secret that few people don't know is half cell have unlimited supply of lithium because they're continuously fed lithium into it. So half cell results are a good starting point, but they're just a starting point. When you go to make it using 18650 batteries, you're showing we're confident in our process, we know what we're doing, we know where we're going, and we're showing you a real product that can have real world application. Okay? That's not the same thing. So I'll bring this back, which I often do with the fume silica. Fume silica, we said we think we made great material. The great material attracted a lot of NDAs from the top guys. We signed, I think we've seen 3 of the 5 top guys. We signed NDAs with them. And at the end, we had one of the 3, which we all know who it is, Ivonic, vouch that we've actually made something that's so good that they're willing to sign an LOA, allow us to use the name. So if you follow the business strategy we're doing, this is the same thing we're doing in batteries. The difference is the market for batteries is massive, okay? So to step out of the communication overload where a lot of silly things is published, okay, you got to remember, there are a lot of university professors, okay, that need to publish and perish. So they'll come up and they're financed by all the government grants, and they'll be financed to come up with those great results that look great, but will have no commercial value. I would say that 99% of the commercial value. Actually, HPQ Silicon's philosophy, okay, has been to step away from university professors that have the supposedly great things, because when it comes to going commercial, it ain't really working. So that's always been my sort of I have my doubts about university professor-led things. I'm not saying it's not great things. You can do some great work with them.
It's
But
commercial versus academic at the end of the day. I mean,
that's
you're a
the
public company. You need to demonstrate commercial, not academics.
we
Academics is
do
totally different world.
we do commercial R&D. Okay. And that's very important to understand. It's not just pure R&D, it's commercial R&D. If there is no way to monetize your R&D, it's not worth to do it. So, and in that word, that's what it is. Then then I have the job of communicating, okay, simplifying it for a lot of people, yet at the same time show enough information for people in the industry that says, oh, there's something there to see. Let's have discussion. And the conversation I had this morning basically validated. Like, this guy's been doing this for probably like 20 years and working around, says, oh, you're one of the few ones. And the person I works with the biggest German Institute, Fraunhofer, and those type of groups. So
Fine. So on that note, I always ask you for the last couple of years, for those people who do the store, you have different legs. There are 4 different legs to this company. So we've discussed other leg. And I always ask you, is the phone ringing? Because that's what my father used to ask me years ago when I started my company, all that. Great idea, George. Is the phone ringing? Because the phone ringing is third-party validation. And you've alluded in the past to the phone ringing, but now, quote, the results are generating industry-wide interest from battery manufacturers, graphite companies, and industrial groups with at least 15 new NDAs signed or in progress. So should investors and the world be taking this as you're now having that commercial third-party validation?
well, let's say that we have the commercial interest from third parties coming into it. So I will answer it this way, okay? NDAs are great. They're a starting process, okay? Better than to get a completed, offtake agreement, those type of deals. But I've never heard of any offtake agreement or commercial deal being made without first an NDA being signed. So they're part of the process. We're executing the business plan, which we've said, okay? If people listen to what we've been saying on these interviews, where I go probably more in details and more background, give more background information about what we've stated, you will realize that we're executing this business plan. Okay? I've actually said what's the template is. The template was the fume silica one. I believe this one, but in this size, the market is much bigger. The interest is much bigger. There are a lot of, very large companies, on the 15 NDAs. The reason why some in progress is because the company size we're dealing with is, I can't send them my NDA. But my NDA is very good. They don't care. They have their own legal department. So one of the guys says, I send it to legal, but they're not known to be fast. So that's sort of like that's where it's moving along.
Well, I want to ask you that, and I know you can't be specific, but I'm still going to try and prod you a little bit. Are you getting NDAs from George? You know what I mean? Or are there some Evonik style potential partners in there? Because I've got to figure, but who cares what I think at the end of the day? What does the profile look of some of those 15 NDAs? And is there an Evonik size potential partner in there?
I would say run the entire gauntlet from startups like us that have a different approach, that are desperately needing a silicone material that is going to be uniform, good quality, right size, SIOX type of material, and our improved material can work with them, to the Evonik size type of organization into it. So this is where I allude to the NDAs taking longer to sign. But there's definite interest in what we're doing, definite interest on the way it's going. And it's definitely going to be moving forward. I think I use the number 15 because I wasn't sure. I was talking to my CEO. Do we have 15? Do we have 20? Do we have 25? At one moment, we lost track. Like, we stopped publishing about them. But I think at this moment, it's important. When you have more than a few, then there's interest. We have 15 now. That was remember, that was 15 based on 300 cycles. We don't know how many more we'll end up getting with the 500 cycle.
Well, in this 500 cycles press release, you say unmatched capacity and durability. Unmatched. that's gonna have to,
And
again, should that
I
attract
got
the attention
market
of major
surveillance to
people?
approve that sentence.
Expand on that. Because
No, but
obviously that's a big claim, right? If
basically,
I say I've got the unmatched platform, I mean, you have to prove it. I can't just say that. So is that why
exactly.
you have
So
market surveillance say, prove this
this
to
is,
us?
well, no, it's the way the rules are. If you make such a claim, you better be able to back it up, which is backable, which is very easy to back up for us. It's not very complicated. You know, 18650 batteries are known, commercially sized, and the three tops one, the Murata, Panasonic, and Samsung. Okay, and we beat the crap out of where they are in those materials. So as long as we have the source to say this, so we did the study, and that's where it comes up. So, but I just bring this to be funny. Why, those are the type of sentence that could have triggered. But I knew it.
But hold on. But at the same time, yes, I mean, cool anecdote. But at the same time, we know that the Canadian markets are heavily regulated, and George Com just can't come out and say unmatched. So when you're saying unmatched capacity and durability, you're essentially saying you're number one in the world right now. Are you not saying that? Because nobody else has
You
now there
have
might be
to.
somebody private, I get that, but nobody else has come along and said they've got
Well,
better numbers.
on 18650s commercial type batteries, okay, we cannot find, and we've looked, we cannot find. Somebody might come up, somebody would come up, oh yeah, I can get on the Chinese one a 29,000 megawatts thing. Yeah, go look on Google when they test them. It's not even true. Those are false ones. We're talking about serious manufacture here. So this is where we're coming out. And if you even go take a look at what the two other companies that reach record, I think we published that in one of the press release, you see the graph in the evolution. The 18650 batteries have sort of been stuck around the 3000 mark for a long time, and they don't last that long. That's probably why it didn't go really above 500 cycle at 80. I think there's one of them that actually published that they were at 50% after 500 cycle. I think it's the Murata that used to be the Sony one, but still a great battery. So think about it. At 85%, okay, you still have 22% more energy than the graphite model, and 10% of the brand new batteries. Okay, so yeah, you still have a darn good batteries at 80%. And 500 cycle is, if you use it on your cell phone, it's almost 2 years if you drain it every day. Well, cell phone we do drain it every day, charge it back. So that's it's a great result. It's a great demonstration. I've spoken to many people in the industry. They're amazed that we have a basically a very similar degradation line than the graphite. That's unheard of. Everybody was said, oh, well, past 125, everybody dies. And we experienced that with Gen 1 and Gen 2. We figured out how to solve it, and we got to move it.
Well, that probably explains why you got this call this morning after somebody saw the press release. So
Well,
let's
it's been somebody I've been
stick
having
with
ongoing. It's somebody I've been having ongoing call, but even today's press release, even like, oh, okay, we really want to figure out how to work with you.
yeah, and that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate. So again, we're
Mhm.
going to stay tuned for that to see how all of this plays out. But sticking with the theme of third-party validation, you did get very specific. I'm going to read this part. Representatives from a NATO member country have
Mhm.
approached Novacium to explore whether a Gen 3 silicon-based nanomaterials could enhance the operational capacity of their tactical radio battery pack.
Mhm.
Can you expand on that, given the fact that you've disclosed that? I know you can't talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
which. I'm not really concerned about which member country, but
Mhm.
why is this so important to them?
Well,
And how unique, in your conversation with them, how unique is your technology, your silicon based versus what they've been obviously trying to find. It seems like this is a need they've been trying to improve on. If I read into that quote.
okay. Without going into too much detail, fundamentally the issue is this. Okay, when people go in the field and don't have access to charging station, all right, that means for
Obviously.
the time they're spending on the field, okay, they have to have enough energy in their batteries, okay, to be able to sustain the operation because communication is the key. Now, If to reach their object, their operational need, the soldier needs to go there with 10 batteries, that's 10 times the weight he has to carry. Well, if you cut it by 33%, you basically, for the same length of time of mission, you cut the need by about 33% of the weight of the battery, which is a great tactical improvement. So that's a real life application to it. And if you allow me, I'll just show the pictures so people understand finally where it comes in, the 18650 batteries. And I alluded to this in previous discussion that we were going to show real life application, and this is what we have. Okay. So this is like an original battery come into it. We just plug in our battery into it. You get 33% more energy into it. This is how it's as simple as that. Okay, it's never as simple as that, but it's as simple as that. But fundamentally, this is where we are. And for those type of operation, even if our great batteries only had 200 cycle, because we're having discussion with drone manufacturers, which are using the same types of setup as this, okay, to make their drone work. If the drone has a suicide mission, does he need a freaking battery that's going to last 5,000 cycle? No. He just needs one that you can draw a lot of the energy quickly. And this is where a battery comes in, because as much more power you can draw, you can draw it out. So I thought this was an interesting thing, because this literally came up. We got the email, we got the discussion.
So well, I think it points to what you've been saying, which is this market is substantially bigger than the fumed silica, because the applications are, I don't want to say unlimited, obviously it's finite, but the applications are numerous to say the least, right? And so what's the next steps with this particular prospect? Because they've approached you, so obviously have been conversations. You've probably obviously demonstrated in more detail and depth what you just did for us, saying, yeah, we could just plug and play our batteries. So how does that move forward, if at all, potentially?
Basically, I would suggest stand by as we figure out how to do this. Do we have somebody else manufacture the batteries to our specification to be able to meet those demands? There's a lot of those ongoing thinking going along with this. That's moving forward. So that's an interesting pathways, but it demonstrates that there is a need for what we're doing. And as we say, we can make 18650 batteries much more competitive, but we're going to be able to do the same thing for bigger batteries. Our materials is plug and play. Okay, it's not limited to 18650 batteries. We'll be able to test it and everything else. We just did a strategic choice of using that size batteries to move it forward. But
now, presumably, if you're successful with a NATO member country, so the Department of Defense of a NATO member country, if you're successful with one, that would probably lead pretty quickly to adoption amongst other countries, right?
I'm not too fully aware of what it is, but it probably means at one point you get a number, a NATO number, which basically means it's a part that every NATO government, but it's not there yet. It's just preliminary discussion based on what it is of a real life applicational problem. Okay? Which is the problem we sort of knew about, because our portable hydrogen technology is designed to address those type of issues. Okay, it's designed to how you permit people to have more energy in the field so they can generate hydrogen.
I want to move into it can only get better, it sounds like, and going back to a little more technical. Two things you say here. Analysis, a quote, analysis suggests that minor process modifications could reduce degradation to below 10% after 500 cycles. So obviously it sounds like you're working on that right now. When do you think we'll know if in fact you're able to reduce degradation to below 10% after 500 cycles?
Well, that we know we can attain. It's just a question how we can replicate this and make it more moving forward. That we know we can attain. It's just that for the base of reference we took for all these testing, this is where we are. It's probably is it going to be a Gen 3B or a Gen 4? We're going to start to address those issues. But remember, these are lab scale type of working, so we gain a lot of knowledge about what we're doing. Okay, and that knowledge will replicate into additional version. Like now we sort of have to be starting to think. I see this starting to resemble. This is where another similarity with the fume silica. Okay, at lab scale at the fume silica, we made a material that was, I think, A150. All right. We know we can go up to A300, but it's not really worth our while at lab scale to try to do more work just to improve it, or go to pilot scale and then from then on keep improving it. So those are where the discussion are going with partners. This is where I say that we have signed non-disclosure agreement with industrial groups. So this is where all those discussions, everything is fluid in the right direction. There's nothing negative. Like in the last week, I got a lot of emails from investors that were a bit worried because the market price sort of like corrected, aka we were under what I considered to have been a short attack to try to get the stock lower. But I was too busy issuing those good news. But fundamentally, the company is moving in the right direction, going in the right movement. There's nothing negative. We have the fume silica. We have this. We'll start talking soon about our hydrogen batteries. We're in discussion with industrial groups about scaling it up, getting it moving. I'm busy 24/7.
And based on and staying with that,
Mhm.
Dr. Crane said our projection models continue to indicate that by the 1,000 cycle mark,
Mhm.
Gen 3 material performance should match the projected graphite benchmark. So, 1,000, are you going for 1,000 cycles? Is that going to be one of the next ones we see? I'm not saying tomorrow, but are you going for 1,000 cycles so you could prove that you've got the wherewithal at all cycle levels?
For us, it's not a do or die, but I think what we want to do, I could be proven wrong, but I think what we want to do is we want to push the batteries to the maximum. Okay. And so when they reach the
Right on.
maximum, then what we do is we basically analyze them and we try to figure out, okay, what we can do to move them forward. It's sort of like commercial, also a test bed, and all those type of issues together. So I think we're going to push them to the ultimate maximum. Does that mean we're going to go to 1,000 cycle? I believe so. I think that could be the goal, but how can I say this? It's a great goal. Okay, it's a great milestone to achieve, but the 501 85% makes it, it's for me, it's the equivalent of when I got that email back from Evonik telling me, oh, your material makes commercial grade. Now, the advantage of this is I've been able to publish this, but Evonik, I had to wait until we signed the LOI for people to know about this. That's the only difference.
All right, so the you've got the guns necessary to be commercial right now, is what you're saying
Yeah.
essentially at this. So what
Well,
would
yeah,
commercialization look like, Bernard? Ballpark again, I'm not pinning you down to exact dates, but you've alluded a lot in the past to how this side of the business will progress a lot like what we saw on the fume silica side. And obviously there, you're at pilot plant with a leading global player. So that's obviously great. We're all happy about that. So how
Mhm.
do you see the commercialization on this side of the business playing out over the next
Well, it's
3,
it's
6,
actually
9, 12 months?
it's actually started. I think we've talked about the fact that we submitted a demand for a grant. Now, remember when we submitted our demand for the grant, I believe that we had only published 200 cycles. So it's even better now. Um, and I think we're looking also at, if it doesn't work here for whatever reason, because there could be an election, it could be a change of government, there could be many aspects. There'll be other locations that are really interested in what we're doing and wanted to move forward. So that's the plan now. Is really, when we submitted the application, we've already sort of designed the plan to get the SIOX, the patent, those issues getting moved. So we're designing a pilot plan. That might take something like 12, but probably more 24 months. That's about the timeline to get things moving. And after that, we'll be in a position to start probably negotiating offtake agreements. But that could happen much sooner also because of the material being of so much interest for for other people. So what I would say in a 0 to 24 months, commercialization is going to have moved much much further, because we're actually starting different type of discussions, different type of thinking how we can start to have some commercially available material, at least to keep demonstrating our position
So you wouldn't
as
be,
a
yeah,
main
you wouldn't
supplier.
wait 24 months to commercialize. What you're saying is you may enter into partnership or something like that with GeorgeCom Graphite well before that as you move
Hmm.
together
Hmm.
towards the commercialization process. So
Yeah.
do you, just like you did with the fume silica, do you think that's what we'll see? What, what's your gut instinct on whether that's what we'll see on this side as well, where I don't know, in 3 to 6 months you announce an LOI with, and by the way, on the fume silica, you've got an LOI with one global leader, which is great, Evonik, because it is a smaller industry. Is it, I'm almost thinking, is it a stretcher to think that you might need 2 or 3 different partners on this side of the business because there are so many applications and it's such a bigger market? Or do you think it would follow the same pattern as fume silica, where you get one great leading partner?
Well, first of all, the fume silica, although we have one great leading partner, we're not exclusive to him at this stage. Okay.
Of course. Yeah.
When they put money, it'll become exclusive. But until they do, it's not exclusive, and that's to our advantage. On the battery side, it probably, I see it. I do see that happening with multiple for no other than geographical reasons. Okay. Europe is a big market where we can install ourselves there, and there is massive amount of capital available for us to do this through grants and through those type of issuance. So that could be the idea of set up a subsidiary there and get it moving. And the U.S. is also the same thing. And the U.S. strategic, the military would be willing to finance building of those situations, have more than one, to have multiple suppliers of these materials for their batteries, because they're going to need a ton load of those batteries. So it's, I can come up with a general plan of where we're going. How exactly is going to fall into place, you don't know. There's always some unknown. But hopefully we'll continue to have positive unknown. Reality is, if a year ago I would have told you we would have done this, nobody would have believed us.
Yeah, no doubt. And by me asking that question, it's not in any way impatience. It's more like unbelievable how far you've progressed. You're saying now at least you've lost count. So you're conservatively saying at least 50 NDAs with
Mhm.
battery manufacturers, graphite companies, industrial groups. So it just begs the question at that point, wow, if they're all coming to the table, how could commercialization look? And I guess we've somewhat got your answer, or at least as far as we can get you.
Mhm.
All right, man. That's all I've got on this Halloween special from the Spooky Silicon guy. I don't know if there's anything I've missed. Any last words from you as to, more treats for the
Oh,
shareholders?
definitely. We're working. We have a lot of things going. We are definitely working very aggressively to get all those things issued. I think people should take a minute to realize, minute to understand why we have such a strategy for a commercial R&D company of making multiple projects. Because sometimes when you only focus on one, which is a lot, some people say we should do, basically, you'll end up having slow time. By us doing multiple projects, which are all intertwined, all going in the same direction, but all have the same design, which is low-hanging fruits that can be done without requiring billions of dollars to reach commercialization. And this is what we're doing in every one of our projects, and they're all projects that will attract the interest of big players to come into it. So it's moving forward. We're in the right direction. We have the runway visibility to keep issuing good news moving forward. Not that I know what the news are going to be, because I don't have them yet, but been following fruition. And I think if you watch our series of interviews, you'll see how we've progressed and moved forward, and how much more this advanced. And I can't wait to be able to restart talking to us about the fume silica. So
Yeah, I didn't ask you this time because this is
no,
such a
it's
big
okay.
milestone, but I'm hoping, like a lot of people, sometime soon we'll get an update on the fume silica side as well, and what's going on there. But in the meantime, my friend, congratulations. Look, it's a major milestone. You're getting great. What I love about this press release is third-party validation, because I can say anything about my company, anything about my baby, of course, the most beautiful baby in the world, but until you have other people saying, hey, you look like you're onto something, and you've got a NATO member country approaching you about, potentially incorporating your tech into their very critical operations. It's great to see the third-party validation. Keep it going. Have a happy Halloween tonight. You should dress up. You should dress up as a CEO. That's what you should do tonight.
That would be too scary. Too scary. Give people
You
nightmares.
should dress up as a small cap CEO tonight and scare everybody at the door when you get to their door. But have a great day, my friend. Thanks for joining us. And for everybody at home, thanks for watching. As always, can't wait to hear your comments on AGORACOM. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Hey Small Cap fam, I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and AGORACOM? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great AGORACOM small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.